So just want to touch on a tough topic today, firing disgruntled employees. I wrote a piece just a couple of days ago on a Tom's Hardware post about a disgruntled ex-employee costing a company $600,000 because of some, malicious activity on the way out the door. Tough topic, firing employees. Unless you're just really unhappy, is probably not most people's favorite thing to do. Difficult, even more difficult if you've been putting the problem off for, an unreasonable amount of time. And that's not atypical. Something that a lot of people struggle with is confrontation. And even as a business owner, you may have fallen into the trap of continuously hoping that maybe somebody would improve, or there was something you could do to sweeten that soured milk, but you finally decided to do something about it, and now you're letting them go. Disgruntled employees can cause a myriad of issues, right? If they're still within the business prior to being let go, they're poisoning your culture. There's a lot of things that can happen with rumor mills. And then on the way out the door, the problems can multiply. They can take, trade secrets with them, exfiltrate client list, so on and so forth. It can be really tough. So one of the things that I took away from this story, aside from the technical view of it, the security view of it, obviously those things are front of mind, especially in my field, as it's something that we deal with and we leverage against and hedge against, and then help people navigate more often than probably most people would expect. The other thing that really struck me about it, though, being a small business owner in that sweet little SMB space, you may not have the resources for a big, robust HR department, dedicated team members, powerful, robust, hyper clean, process-driven onboarding and offboarding. But articles like this really help to remind me, and hopefully you, which is why I'm sharing it, of the importance of, maintaining visibility, even from a quarterly perspective, putting it in your battle rhythm, inspecting your business, your line of business software for least privilege policies. So do your team members have access to just what they need? Or maybe because of the expediency or the disorganization of onboarding, do they have access to more than they need to complete their daily task? Why is that something that we should look into? Well, imagine that you are running a small medical or dental practice, and you have a clinical staff member that through as a result of normal daily duties does not need access to create treatment plans or look at family file financials. Maybe that's reserved for an insurance coordinator or an office manager. But because permissions were never really drilled down, maybe that's something that they have access to. And please understand, some of you may have immediately become uncomfortable with where I was going with that, or where we are going with this little discussion here, but the desire to limit access to information within any organization to only what is needed to complete your duties is encouraging to team members, or it should be, because it indicates on your part a healthy respect for the client information that you are responsible for, right? So I don't want, as a network administrator over the years, to have access to things that are not within my scope of work. Because at the end of the day, and this is, the perspective of an employee, But at the end of the day, I want my access to be limited to things that are within my scope of responsibility. That indicates to me as a technician or an administrator that the people above me that are designing these policies and permissions are doing so intelligently and with the security and fidelity of the information that they are responsible for closely in mind as they make those decisions. That makes me feel confident about the direction and the culture of the organization that I'm a part of. Hopefully, internal to your organization, that would be the same thought and feeling. If you are not sure if you practice least privilege policies, then feel free to reach out. Let's talk about it. Also, have a plan in place to remove access as people exit the organization. Do you have a simple offboarding checklist that covers what software each employee may utilize, what logins they may utilize, what PIN numbers or key codes or cards or passwords that they may need to hand over on exit. It sounds really basic, and some of you out there may be scratching your head and saying, well, obviously, and that's fine. That's fantastic. It's wonderful. If you are like most leaders in the SMB space, and it is and having all of that lined out is one of the 10,000 things on your to-do list, then probably worth the time to sit down and put together a one-page onboard and offboard strategy. Put together a one-page onboard and offboard checklist that at least gives you something to reference in the event of necessity. So those are the quick thoughts I wanted to share about that story today. Last thing that I'll share with you is something that I was discussing with another business owner after reviewing this story. We were having lunch, and one of the things that we talked about at the end was hopefully culturally you are doing a good enough job connecting with your team, training your team, listening to your team, engaging with your team to avoid the disgruntled aspect of letting somebody go. So I think it's important to focus on realities and what can happen out there, and certainly that can happen to any of us, but let's treatment plan and hygiene check and and over communicate with the team that we do have, so that at least the disgruntled aspect of these nightmare events dissipates in statistical probability for us over time, as we operate our businesses in perpetuity. So thank you as always for checking on the video. The link to the article that I was referencing and kind of talking about today is always going to be below. So feel free to check that out. Follow us on any of the socials, and thanks for stopping by.